What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Crawl TV. On today's episode, I'm going to share something with you that I don't know if I should be sharing with you yet, but what the heck, right? TDS is over, and I have a huge pile of parts that I've already gathered up to put into this Jeep, and it's going to get really, really ridiculous. So I'm kind of excited to get started on it, but let's go over and take a look at all the stuff that I've been stockpiling to completely transform this Jeep from a classic CJ7 into a little bit more of a rock crawler. Okay, here we are. Let's jump into my shed and I will show you guys just how deep the rabbit hole goes. So first of all, Steph and I built this shed during COVID, and it was never meant to store this much stuff, but we have our motorcycles in here right now because we had a water leak in our trailer, so we are fixing that water leak. We had to move a bunch of crap in here. And since then, I have completely blocked everything in because I've put Jeep parts in here. So on the right here, I've got a Genrite roll cage stanchion kit that I'm going to be installing into the front of the CJ. I've got 4 Optima batteries because the whole gang is getting yellow tops. I've got 5 Raceline wheels. These are the all aluminum monster beadlocks, and this is what we're going to be taking a look at today. And then on the floor here, you might notice that there is a whole ass transmission. After doing a ton of research online, I discovered that the ideal transmission to put behind this AMC 304 V8 is actually a late model T18 wide range transmission, which is what this is. I bought this shift knob for it, but you can tell that the late model versus early model, based on the shift pattern, the early model, the reverse shifts all the way forward. The reason that this transmission is so sought after is because it has a super granny low gear in it. So if we were to take it out of 4th gear there, where's neutral at? Come on. So 1st gear, you can see, is a huge throw forward. And I don't know the exact ratio, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's like a 642 to 1 or something. So basically this is a 3-speed transmission with a granny first. So granny is really only good for off-road, and then you have 2nd, 3rd, and 4th to drive around on normally. Moving on from there, I've got a couple of leftover stock steering wheels because I had to replace my steering column, and neither one of the stock steering wheels was saved. I have a PRP steering wheel on the Jeep now. The rear axle on the floor here is a Dana 44 rear axle, and these are really unique because you would think Dana 44 axle, okay, that's super common, but this is a 1986 Dana 44 wide track rear end, and the second half of 1986 is the only year that these axles were produced, and this is significantly stronger than the AMC 20 axle, which they ran out of in 1986 when they started to produce these for the final year. So this is a sought-after axle. This is a much better financial decision if I'm going to start building a set of wide track axles to put in the Jeep. The difference from wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface, narrow track to wide track, narrow track axles are 53-inch wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface, and the wide tracks are 56-inch. So these are 3 inches wider than the axles under the Jeep now. And once this is built up and trussed and geared and it has a locker in it, this will be a much stronger axle than an AMC 20, even with a one-piece axle shaft conversion on it. We've got a power tank here and a bunch of other stuff. I've got a Holley carburetor sitting on that desk over there. There's a ton of stuff that still has to be unveiled at some point, but for now I wanted to show you guys the ridiculous collection as it already sits. I have a ton of work to do because I'm going to be axle swapping, transmission swapping, replacing wheels and tires, battery swapping, building a roll cage, carb tuning, and a lot of other things that you guys will see here in the upcoming episodes. But for today, I really want to focus on these Raceline wheels. You can see that the boxes are a little flimsy. The UPS guy delivered these in the rain, and I didn't know that he was here. I didn't know that these were even delivered because of where he put them. And so they sat out in the rain for like 3 days, and the boxes just got completely trashed. So we're gonna pull the wheels out of these boxes here. I wanna test fit the wheels. Let's go ahead and I'll pull one of these down, get it unboxed, and we'll prop it up on this Jeep and just see how it looks here. Okay, ready? Drum roll. Da, 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 da. Oh, there's more to take apart. I got plastic around the wheel and it has this hairnet thing on it. So let's pull that back and whoa! Oh my gosh. You guys, holy crap, look at this wheel. Wow. This is absolutely beautiful. And I'm just gonna take a second to drool over it here, but wow. This is the full machined aluminum Raceline monster beadlock in 17 by 9.5. This is a full beadlock wheel. Every single one of these holes is going to have a grade 8 bolt through it. And on the back side, on the inside of this wheel lip, this wheel has nutserts in it. And that's one of the reasons that I think that Raceline makes the absolute best beadlock in the industry, hands down, because they are so serviceable. But we'll get more into that in a minute. For now, I just got to drool over this wheel for a second. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. So you guys may remember I actually had a set just like this, but the inside of the wheels were black. And those wheels were on Dozer, my JKU. I was a huge fan of those wheels then. I'm still a fan of them. That's why I decided to go with Raceline again to get this set for the high school Jeep. And what my plan is for today, wow, you can see the sun reflecting on that wheel. Sheesh, that's gorgeous. My plan for today is to just pop one of the wheels and tires off of the front of the high school Jeep. I want to throw one of these wheels on, and I just want to verify that our lug pattern is correct, our center bore on our wheel is correct. I want to make sure that the lug nuts that I have will fit and that the lug studs I have are long enough to get through these wheels. Even if you don't have tires yet, these are really important things that you want to check out before you order tires, before you paint your wheels or mount the tires to the wheels. Go ahead and dry fit the wheels to your vehicle. Make sure they clear your brakes, you know, make sure that you like the offset, the back spacing, everything is correct and perfect for your needs. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to check this out on the high school Jeep. I'm going to pull this front tire off right here and we'll put this wheel on and we're just going to see how absolutely gorgeous it looks. Look at that. The bolt pattern is correct. It looks like I have enough to actually grab with this lug nut set that I have here. The reason I check this is because I've ran other manufacturers' beadlocks in the past before I set my mind on Raceline Wheels as the wheel of choice for me. And some other wheel manufacturers require ET style lug nuts and stuff like that. And I have run into the situation before where I've mounted tires onto other manufacturers' beadlocks and I went to throw it on my JK and then I had to go on a wild goose chase last minute to find the correct size lug nut for them. So you always want to make sure that everything fits the way that it's supposed to before you get your tires on, before you paint your wheels, before you mount all these beadlock rings, because these wheels do require a little bit more work than a factory wheel. So you want to check all this stuff ahead of time. All right, now we can kind of imagine what this Jeep's going to look like with a 35-inch tire on these wheels. And now that the wheel is mounted to the hub, I can actually free spin it and I can verify that no, the brakes aren't touching. Yes, the center bore is correct for my locking hubs. My bolt pattern is correct. My lug nuts do work with it. Everything is going to work just fine. So now I can kind of proceed to the next step, which is finding the right tire for this setup. You got to really use your imagination here because it looks pretty goofy without a tire on it, but I think that that's going to look absolutely amazing with a big mud terrain tire on it. So now it's time to talk about the fit and finish of these wheels. I mentioned before we have checked now for clearance with our brakes, clearance with our steering tie rod ends on the inside. We have the correct center bore, we have the correct lug pattern. Now we can take these wheels back off and we can wait until we have tires to mount on them. But this is something that you should always verify when you get new wheels, because you don't want to leave them in the box until the tires show up, or put the tires on them and then discover that there is a fitment issue. So now that we've gotten to this point, I do want to talk about why I chose to run Raceline Monster Beadlocks on my second Jeep in a row. And the short answer is just that I absolutely love these wheels. The long answer is a bit more complicated, so let's get into it. I mentioned before that I've run other aftermarket wheels in the past, and you've probably seen those wheels on Dozer when it was really early in the build stages and I was learning about different off-road aftermarket manufacturers for things, and I've been through a few different sets. But I mentioned that one of my bigger issues was when I finally mounted my tires and wheels together on that other set of wheels, I went to put them on and the lug nuts didn't fit. And it was a huge headache for me because I was in a hurry. I was supposed to drive to Chicago that night, and now I'm driving all over town trying to find this specialized, weird looking ET lug nut that would actually fit in the wheels. So that was kind of problem number one for me. The other thing that makes these wheels so much different than other manufacturers' wheels is I've had issues in the past with the grade 8 hardware in other wheels seizing inside of the wheels. And you have to imagine this is a steel bolt. And steel bolts, when they go into a piece of cast aluminum, are going to want to seize. That's just metallurgy. That's what's going to happen. Even if you put anti-seize on them, there's a chance that those bolts will seize and they won't come out. And that happened to me on the other sets of wheels that I've run in the past, and it actually happened so many times that by the time I was done with those wheels, I had to throw them away. I actually had to throw the wheels in the dumpster and just get rid of them, because I had so many snapped, seized bolts all the way around the outside of the wheel that it wasn't salvageable. It wasn't worth trying to tap them out or have the wheel re-drilled. It was just time for them to go. And other manufacturers will actually double drill their wheels so that if you snap a bolt, you can clock your beadlock ring and then bolt them back onto another set of clean threads. The reason that I love Raceline Monster Beadlocks, and all Raceline wheels for that matter, is because they use nutserts in their wheels. They account for the fact that things are going to go a little bit haywire over time. You know, people drive their Jeeps or off-road trucks or whatever 4x4 they have into harsher climates than most people. So if you're driving around in northern Alaska, or you're driving around in Florida, or somewhere where there's a ton of salt in the roads, anything like that, it's going to amplify that corrosion, and it's going to make it harder to get those bolts out when you have to service or change a tire or anything like that on your wheels. So what Raceline Wheels did is they added these nutserts, and I'll show you what these nutserts look like so you can kind of get an idea of it. But the process is so simple to replace them that it makes it such an advantageous solution to replacing a snapped bolt. So check this out. This is the Raceline Wheels nutsert, and how this works is it's knurled just like a wheel stud. And this knurled end will actually press into the wheel as you tighten that beadlock bolt into it, and it actually sucks in, and then you can tighten your beadlock ring all the way down to it. If you snap a bolt or anything like that, all you have to do is hammer that snapped bolt back out into the wheel, put a new nutsert in, and you have a clean set of threads without a seized bolt in them that you can put a new bolt into. I mean, it is literally genius. This is such a small piece that makes such a big difference when you're talking about, you know, whatever this is, 42 bolts per wheel, and you've got 5 wheels, and you know, you've got to account for the fact that eventually one of them will seize, will snap. Something is going to go wrong. So this is a great way to simplify that repair if it ever should come down the road. That is kind of the main selling point for these. I dealt with so many issues with other beadlock wheels on Dozer, the JKU, that when it came time to decide what wheels to run on the CJ7, it was kind of a clear, obvious choice for me to just go back to what I had found that worked so absolutely well for me in the past. So we're running Racelines. Now we have to decide what tires we're going to run. I mentioned that I have wide track axles. They're Dana 44s. They're a little bit stouter than these narrow track axles that I have here. So my plan is to actually upgrade this Jeep from a set of 33 by 10.5s, and I want to run a set of 35 by 12.5s on this Jeep. There may be some clearancing involved, but that is my ultimate plan for this. So we are going to plan on finding a set of 35s to throw on these Raceline wheels, and once those tires show up, we'll get them mounted on these wheels, and we'll check and see how it looks for the first time with an actual tire on the wheel. So that's it for this episode, you guys. We will wait and see what tires I pick for this, but as you've seen in this episode, there's a lot of projects in the works here, and you'll see these wheels on this Jeep with a new set of tires very soon. And hopefully, by the time that I'm putting these wheels and tires on the Jeep, it's on a new set of axles with a new transmission, a roll cage, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So plenty more to come. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Crawl TV. Thanks for watching.